the church be faithful believers gathered together. And that is the church, a living church, a vibrant church, a dynamic church, a sensitive church, sensitive to what is happening in the world and around us. And that is the challenge before us. A building, yes, we live in. A house of prayer. And more than that, we ought to recapture the idea that the church, you and I, belong to that. We are the living stones by which the church is built. Walking temples of God, as Paul points out. Each one represents God abiding in his or her life. Let me just mention what Peter is trying to tell us. I read that portion. He says three characteristics of any worshipping community, any church. He says it has to be a spiritual house. A spiritual house. In the church, we may undertake so many activities. We are called to respond to the needs of the community, and many churches open their doors for homeless people. I know about it, I read about it. But we have to remember it is a spiritual house, a gathering place for prayer, for worship. A Methodist bishop in Bombay, who was one of my mentors, he used to say that the church is like a gas station. You come, fill up, and go into the world. But sometimes I feel that we do come, we fill up, but we run around the church, we don't go into the world. All our energy, all our resources are spent for the maintenance of the church and not to serve the world. That's establishment danger. That is why Jesus said, all these things you are doing is not too bad. Having the cattle and the sheep and the sacrifice. But your attention is not in making the prayer and worship due to God. But your attention is maintaining this heavy structure. I'm glad you found, though you are a small congregation, you found the money to do that. God bless you. You are a giving community. But many churches I find, Indian churches, I travel around, I find that they have money only for the mortgage and maintenance of the pastors. Nothing beyond that. That is not the gas station experience. We ought to get fired up, filled up, and go into the world to be witnesses. Living temples of God, walking around and interacting with the people. That is our call. Holy house. Maybe without walls. Open. So people would come in. The church building sometimes this is the Indian church, this church, then denomination. Those are important. Our identity is important. Our culture is important. Our special gifts are important. But at the same time, prayer, house of prayer for all nations, open and accepting, welcoming others into our fold. Then Peter reminds us it is holy priesthood. We in our tradition believe in the priesthood of all believers. Though we have pastors and presbyters and priests to look after our leaders in worship, but we believe the gathered community is a gathered priesthood of all believers. And what does it mean? The other day I looked up and I found the Latin word for priest, there may be other words as well, is pontifex. And then it says pontifex means bridge, and another meaning is to make. If we put these two together, and also traditional expression of priesthood, we find that priests are bridge builders, building bridges. Reconciliation is the greatest of our ministry. We are living in a very fragmented world, and every day, whether you follow Indian politics or politics here, how we see the world is so divided. We find rich and poor, or as they say, makers and takers. There is race difference, caste difference, language difference. There are so many factors making us get fragmented in the society. We just sang that beautiful hymn, Church is one foundation. Why the church is one foundation? That we should have been a one foundation for whole God's creation. All inclusive. And that foundation is the foundation of to be priest, active in reconciliation. The community of believers is called bridge builders. I am so happy the mayor was here. You are invited to participate in the life of the community. And in the community where God has placed us as a church or as individuals, we have the ministry of reconciliation because we represent holy priesthood. That is the church, holy priesthood. And that is to bring about reconciliation, unity, and make God the one foundation on which everything will be built. One more thing Peter says. He says, spiritual sacrifice. Spiritual sacrifice. The church is called to make a spiritual sacrifice. We also live in a world which is so selfish, self-centered. Each person, each community is for themselves. And each try to manipulate each other for their own benefits. And here we are followers of the person who was known as the man for others. Jesus was known as the man for others. That is our heritage. That is our guidance. That is the challenge before us. That the church ought to be able to be, and we as Christians, each one of us should be able to be, making spiritual sacrifice, offering ourselves, and offering prayers and supplications on behalf of the community, even at the expense of ours. That is called, Jesus said, you are the salt, you are the leaven, and you are the light. Salt melts itself. That's a self-sacrifice. And that is a challenge before us. My dear friends, as I congratulate you on your success in building up a place for yourself, it is so important in your life journey. I also wish you many years of fruitful ministry. And what is this ministry? Spiritual house. Let this be a spiritual house. A house of prayer where you will be filled by the Holy Spirit to be missionaries of the gospel outside in the community. Holy priesthood, making bridges, reconciliation, and actively participating in the life of the community. And also spiritual sacrifice. A church does not live for itself. Church is the only club, they say, which exists for non-members. Other clubs are for members, but have we become exclusive clubs now? Don't we have to reach out